You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here, hanging with you guys today. And we have beautiful wifey for life. You're joining me on line 2. What's going on, babe?
Hi.
Which is headphone set number 2. Welcome to the show. And today we're going to be talking about just a little recap from a vacation that we took just a couple days ago. We had some fun things that we were just hanging there in Deer Valley, Park City Creek,
We kept
Lake,
calling it the wrong thing the
Utah.
whole time.
We don't know.
I think it's Deer Valley.
Deer Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got it right by the time we were done at the place for a week.
Typical.
Which is typical for us. So getting the lay of the land, just nailing it. But we also wanted to say the big hoopla for this.
Big hoopla, 1 million trillion downloads.
Not a 1 million trillion, but definitely a million. I'll take a million.
Almost as much as...
A million downloads. That's actually really, really awesome.
Yeah.
High five?
High five.
I thought you were literally going to high five, but you were like going to bite your finger over here. I thought you
Sorry.
By the way, shout out to fellow podcaster
Mr. Paul Jameson.
Paul Jameson hitting 1 million downloads here just this last week as well. He did beat me. Yeah. Well, I'm not in any competition with anybody, but Paul is kicking butt. I think it's like 650 plus episodes now.
That's wild. Way to go, Paul. That is like some dedication.
Dude, seriously. He's doing a daily show. God bless him. He's into the pain and suffering part. I'm just having fun. To do a podcast, I was just talking to Andrew Martinez out of Texas. Great guy. Listens to the show. And he's getting a podcast launched. He's done a couple episodes. We were talking today, and he's like, man, this is a lot of work. He's done 2. And I go, yeah. And he goes, no, for real though. He literally was like, nobody understands what you and Paul do to create a show 3 times. And Caleb Ballman, for example, a couple other people, a couple days a week. He goes, man, it's a lot of work to do this. You guys
People think you're just like talking to yourself in a closet with like a podcast board and then like send it.
Yeah, it's and some people can and maybe some people do, but if you want to have like a value-driven or value-oriented podcast, at least that's what we strive for. I wouldn't say we.
Not when I'm on, but usually.
No. Well, I would say yes for you. But in the broad speaking, Caleb and Brittany Allman, they're great. They have a great podcast, a lot of value. Paul always brings it Monday through Friday on his show. And so, $1 million for Paul. Actually, his podcast episode was really, really funny.
It was hilarious. I listened to it.
We were listening to it on, I think, Monday when it came out.
Yeah.
So we were listening to it real time on Monday.
I was laughing so hard when he was talking about the jobber.
Oh my God. So you guys, if you didn't listen to Paul's episode this week on Monday, you need to go back and check it out because Paul was telling some funny yuck stories.
Yuck.
And the funny thing is, like, I have perspective on a lot of it. I wasn't like there when Paul launched the podcast, but I got mine started a year after Paul. And so a lot of the stuff I learned was because of Paul. So
Paul was like, I did this, don't do that.
Yeah, but there's also some things too that Paul had not totally figured out just yet in terms of like sponsorship rates. So if you guys
go listen to the episode, it's hilarious.
You got to go listen to the episode.
Paul's laugh just makes me laugh.
Paul lost it for about a solid 30 seconds. He did like the lockup laugh where you're just like, somebody get that man oxygen. Well, it's funny because he took that same thought process on his ad rates, and that's what he told me to charge when I got started with my podcast. And so Paul he's like, dude, you got to forgive me. And I'm like, dude, there's no forgiveness needed. But Paul's a very honorable dude, and so he was like, you got to forgive me for telling you what to charge out of the gate, because I did the same thing. I was charging $10 to $20 or $30 for an episode sponsor. Just so you guys know, we don't make a killing on the podcast. It is a for-profit venture. But long story short, if you guys were listening to Paul's episode, he did. You got to go back and hear him tell the story about 90 episodes sponsored for Jobber at $2 an episode, basically.
Everything's all said and done.
When it was all said and done. So anyway, those rate increase letters, they're universal, not just for long hair, but hopefully Paul zipped one of those off to Jobber and those guys. But you know what? Jobber got the deal of a lifetime, and I don't know, man. That's actually super funny. So anyway, we've seen Paul grow. We've seen the Kid Contractor podcast grow. We actually saw them launch their podcast about a year ago at the Green Industry Hype House, which we're going to be doing it again here in just about 2 weeks, which is really
not
cool.
even. Wow.
It's coming up like really fast. So live streams every night on everybody's YouTube channels, Instagrams, value driven, value packed. It's a really good way for us to all collab and just create value add content and just help you guys grow, give you guys something to listen to in February, March. And it's a great way for us to all kind of maybe move down south for a quick minute and live vicariously like you Florida people that are living the dream down there in 60s, 70s, and 80 degrees. Amen.
Yeah, I think it's like -10 here.
It's not -10, but it's 10 degrees.
Feels like it.
10, 20 degrees. But you know what? Nothing in the last 10 days, nothing really in the next 10 days.
No snow.
No snow. So we've just been kind of working behind the scenes and frankly enjoying a lot of family time.
Yeah.
Which
it's been great.
Go full circle. That kind of brings up our Utah trip. So we took well, why don't you tell them about the trip? Because that was a tradition that you were adamant about starting and twist my arm. I got on board on that real quick. So what was that about?
Okay, well, we've always talked about wanting to plan a trip during New Year's Eve for our family. And instead of doing gifts, like we're really fortunate. Like Emmy has pretty much anything you could possibly need.
Yeah. More showing up daily on Amazon.
It's really, really hard not to spoil your kid, I'm learning.
You bought a ball pit for her.
It
was like $150. It wasn't like $1 million. But
she already has cooler stuff than I, as a 5-month-old than I had at 5 years old.
At 30.
Yeah. Anyways, so we wanted to really keep like Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas simple. We did want, read, wear, and need like themed gifts this year.
Well, that's what you did for me. I did the good old, here, let me get you some Lululemons. And I think I gave you like some candy canes or something because I'm a sap.
But so we wanted, instead of doing big Christmas gifts, essentially, for each kid, we want to do simple little things, and then as a family have something to go and do, to create a memory, to go and have an experience. And so this year we weren't able to do New Year's Eve. The idea behind doing it over New Year's Eve too is as the kids get older, I figure it'll keep them out of trouble. And we never end up doing anything on New Year's Eve anyway. We sit at home like nerds and watch the ball drop on our phone in bed and then go to sleep.
Usually we go to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock.
We wake up to see the ball drop.
Yeah, we couldn't care less. Like, because we're not a big like New Year's resolutions people. We're all about goals.
Yeah.
But we don't stay up to watch a bunch of people get all drunk and do stupid stuff.
So.
Well, and I was going to say, by the way, you wanted to do a trip for Christmas and New Year, so we started looking at rates.
Yeah, we realized very quickly, I don't know if it's everywhere, but New Year's is really expensive to travel. So
definitely premium pricing those 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, specifically to where we were going.
Sure.
So we went to Utah Park City, which is huge for skiing, and we had never seen mountains like that.
I've never seen mountains before.
I've seen mountains, but I haven't seen them like that.
Shout out to Utah. All my Mormon friends out there. Shout out to
LDS.
LDS, whatever. Shout out to, I'm very tolerant. Shout out to all of those folks and Salt Lake City. Literally beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
The mountains, the whole thing. A little bit of smog we noticed. Salt
Lake, yeah. They said there was like from the fires and California pollution.
Yeah. But beautiful.
And what a great place to go. Like for us, it's a almost 4-hour flight, which sounds insane with a 5-month-old.
More than that,
really
we had
wasn't
up airport
that
time.
Bad. Oh yeah, it was a whole full day of travel. So you feel like removed, like you're in the mountains. We're in a different time zone, which we did not know was a different time zone when we booked it. I mean, I think we knew, but like we didn't put 2 and 2 together. So we ended up keeping Emmy on the same schedule the whole time, which worked really well.
Yeah. So Deer Valley, Park City, Utah. Absolutely beautiful place. I implore everybody to go check it out at least once. And we're not like skiers and snowboarders, but we definitely would
like to be.
We would like to be.
They have a great kids program. We actually came back with a picture of Emmy in front of their kids center.
Yep.
For our vision board, because we would love for Emmy to go back and take lessons someday.
We want to give her all the experiences that we never had to. Of course, all the thought process we never had as well. That's way more important to me.
But talk about feeling like removed. Like I think going up, the closest I have felt to that is up north in the UP. Where like there's no internet connection, like it just feels far away and removed. And we're in our own little pocket, like our own little family unit. Like we had so much fun. We didn't even do all that much.
We literally stayed in this condo. What was the name of the place?
I don't want to share because I'm going to go back.
Fair enough. Okay, so
if you really want to know feel free to message either one of us. I just don't feel comfortable putting it out there since we're going to take our kids there back.
That's fair. There's millions of condos over there though. They call it couple interesting stats and facts like for this place. By the way, super bougie place. We're definitely not on the pay grade. Okay, we're up and coming.
All I did was walk around and talk about how broke we were.
Dude, literally, nothing but you guys gotta imagine this is like in the mountains, beautiful like white, hills and mountain tops. Everything like white ice caps, on the top or whatever. Like just beautiful manicured place. Everything is yes sir, no sir, please, thank you. I mean, everybody's super nice. Where we were staying, it's so Park City is like this old historic kind of a downtown area. It used to be a mining town.
Yeah.
Way back in the day.
I like weird travel facts and stuff. Like if you look at the Hype House information I put together for all the attendees, there's like weird facts in there and stuff.
Weird facts.
It was a mining town and basically died. And so in like the 1960s,
I think like through the 80s it was going, and then it like kind of died off for 10, 15 years or something like that.
Not in the 80s, no, it like died. And then in the 60s, a government funded program helped them create like Park City, like the actual a hotel went in. People heard about the skiing, they started coming, and then the Olympics were there.
In like 99 or 2000 or
something like that.
I think it's on and every 4 years, right? So it was like in 96 or 98 or 99.
I don't know if that was that long ago.
Probably a good Google
like
search.
Something.
Was it?
I don't know.
So we're historians too. But it put it on the map though.
Yeah.
So if you go about 40, 45 minutes, I don't know if it's like north or east, but into the mountain range, it's Park City, Utah. And about 10, not even 5 minutes north of there is like a private, I don't know if it's a private valley, but
it's Deer Valley. It's like a resort area.
Somebody owns all of it.
All of the, I don't know, mountain. Isn't that crazy? You can own a mountain.
Yeah. So there's people that like own mountains and stuff. Vail, Colorado. I don't know if like the city or the town or whatever bought like a whole mountain ridge and like did a hostile takeover. We were learning a bunch.
They basically told people that were leasing the land like
it's our land now,
but you have to leave. Like, can you imagine? Anyways,
it's literally as picturesque place as you guys can imagine. If you guys are skiers or snowboarders,
then I'm sure they already know about it. Then like, all these yuppies.
We sound like hipsters over here, but super beautiful place. But they're just for perspective, like everybody around town's in like brand new Jeeps, brand new Toyota like 4Runners, brand new Subarus, or everything else. To be honest with you, is an Escalade or a Tahoe.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
One of our drivers actually said it was it the 10s?
They call them the tennies.
The tennies?
Yeah.
Where they like own a home that's over $10 million or over, and then their home is only occupied 10 days or less out of the year.
It's like a very bougie, like
and
second, third home place.
Like amounts of these people. I'm like, can I get a mill?
Yeah, I'm like,
if it's just chump change, I mean, I'll take one.
Just literally ask them, like, hey, can you adopt me? Like, clearly,
we'd have a mill if everybody who listened to your podcast downloaded the podcast, gave us $1 for every download. We would have $1 million.
Hey, that's what you get though, free 99. But
free 99. This is the quality you get.
I'm sure a lot of people think we make $1 million off the podcast. That's literally not the case. I think Mr. Producer makes $1 million though with everybody combined.
Probably. He's a real winner here.
Paul talks about it all the time. He's always giving Mr. Producer gruff. I'm like, hey, he's worth every penny, just so you guys know. But I think Mr. Producer is the one laughing to the bank. So well, I was just going to say really quick, beautiful area. Like one of the other drivers, because we were like tourists for sure. So they have this like Uber of the Deer Valley. It's called Deer Valley Direct. And if you've never been there, literally it's just an app you hop on. It didn't really cost any money.
Well, it depends on where you stay. Like you have to have a code. So we rented, we got access to Deer Valley, whatever, Direct.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. What's that? What are you looking at?
I think Teddy's scratching at the door.
Do you want to go get him really quick?
Yeah.
So interesting stat. Liz has to jump off the podcast for a quick minute. So interesting stat though was one of the drivers was telling us there's so much new construction with condos, with houses, like renovating the land. They're doing a lot of work there. Like this place is booming, right? So check this out: $1,500 a square foot to build right now. $1,500. Just for perspective, new construction build, they used to say $150 a square foot. Kind of in the 2021, 2022 inflation numbers, you're well over $175, $200 a square foot minimum. The interesting thing was if you go to like luxury builds or above builder grade, you're at $250 to $350, $400. Our home is, it's going to be in that category. You can go up from there, of course, depending on how nice of a home you want. I was just saying $1,500 a square foot over there.
Yeah, I think the condo we stayed in was 1,400 square feet, which is the same size as our apartment.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself,
We couldn't even afford that.
I was like, I couldn't even afford a down payment. I could barely even afford the place for the week anyway. But anyway, so that's something that we did, and the reason we just kind of talk about that trip for a quick minute, one was just to kind of get away. I loved what you said. Like, it was so far away you couldn't do anything if you wanted. Like, if my guys called me and said, "Hey, we got 5 inches of snow," dude, figure it out. Yeah, like, we're not there. Like, and there's no, I'll be there in a half hour. I'll be there in an hour.
It makes you feel away from everything, and then also it was an investment to go, so we wanted to get our time like out of it. Like we set an intention when we went that we wanted to, connect as a family and not really worry about much else. Like, this wasn't a trip, obviously, traveling with a baby where we were planning on doing a whole lot anyway.
Right.
It was just sitting down by the fire and reading a story to Emmy every night. It was like the highlight of my trip.
Yeah, we did a little clothes shopping for like the local merch. That way we can be uppies, like you said. I think we have more Deer Valley merch than Deer Valley owned. And but it was really cool. Actually, interesting thing, the very first night, Emmy was on kind of like Michigan Eastern Standard Time, but she did not sleep that first night.
No, we were coming off of like her sleep regression. Knock on wood that we're done with it. But the first night she did not sleep at all. We've never had worse sleep with her, not even as a newborn.
Well, the 5 days leading up
was horrible.
It was
horrible.
If you guys have kids, we're not going to speak this over you, but there's this thing called the 4-month sleep regression.
For us, it happened at almost exactly when she turned 5 months.
Exactly.
We made it at month 4, and we're like, heck yeah, we didn't have the 4-month sleep regression.
Praise the Lord.
Joke's on you.
So basically, like, newborns can be hit or miss with sleeping. Every 2 hours, they take a nap. And they're feeding, sleeping,
Emmy
napping.
was such an easy newborn, like in terms of, we had to wake her up to feed her every 2 hours.
Some people's newborns, just for perspective, if you guys don't have kids, here's how it goes: is that they still haven't been sleeping for 4, 5, 6 months. That is tough. Pray for those people.
That was rough. So we get there and like the first night she doesn't sleep. This is gonna be a very long trip.
Hold on, time out. The week before, she's going through sleep regression.
Right.
So we're on 0. We had a couple snowstorms. We were on 0 before we left. So we go through this whole airport run. We're exhausted.
This trip was such a mistake.
we were like actually like mad at each other because like she wasn't doing the sleep regression when we booked it a month before Christmas. So we are like, do we still go on this trip? She's screaming bloody murder. She's up. We put her down at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. An hour later, she's up.
We've tried like moving her bedtime to like 7, thinking that would be, because everybody talks about how they put their kids to bed at 7. Emmy's never been a 7 o'clock sleeper.
No.
But I'm like, I will try anything. That was even worse.
Yeah.
Like, it was just rough. Emmy's sweet spot is around 9 o'clock.
So she goes to bed
until about 9 the next morning.
She would go to bed at 9. She'd wake up an hour and a half later at 10:30, stay up to about 1:30.
It was like party time.
Dude, 1:30, wide awake, feeling great till about 4:30. And then she would take about a 3-hour nap until 9, 10 a.m. That went on for about a week, and we were literally like, oh my God, did we have a new baby?
I feel so bad for the parents who that is just how it's been.
That is crazy. Some of you guys listening, you couldn't care less. You're like, I just want to buy my Duramax diesel. I joke about that all the time. I totally get it. Other guys are, so many people are having babies and all these COVID pandemic babies, they're calling them. It's pretty funny. Can totally relate. So we did that going on fumes that week. Then we go over to Salt Lake City with this like literally 6-hour day going through the airport,
and then a 2-hour time change.
Yeah, it was a mess. And so we're like, the first night she didn't sleep, and we literally were like up at 11:30, 12, 1, and we had to do shifts. Literally, that
was the first time I think we've ever done shifts like that.
Yeah, we had to, or we were both gonna die and not make it because we were coming off of like 0 sleep for 24 hours. So anyway, that was our life. So, but it was really interesting because we both look at it and we think like God, in a way, like worked that scenario for us to learn how to work together really, really well and come closer together. Where does it sound?
We became a very effective team.
We did. Seriously, like I was really proud of myself.
It forced us.
I played with Emmy from
have survived.
I played with Emmy from like 1:30 till maybe like 3:30. I don't remember what time it is, honestly. 4.
I stopped looking at the clock because it was just making me angry.
I was like, Liz, you need to get 2 hours in because I'm going to need 2 hours in. So I come like squeak into the room and I'm like, my brain is literally, my eyes are detached from my head. They're swirling backwards. I'm so tired. And so, because I'm human too. And I'm like, so I gave her to you and then you let me sleep till, I don't know, 8 o'clock that morning, which was like 10 back at home, right? Yep. 2 hours later. Anyway, I know you guys don't care about all that, but it was just like...
It was interesting. It was an interesting start to the trip.
But you know what? Like, we had such a fun time. Like, it was just good to... Here's one thing I've been kind of employing. I'm not going to do a whole lengthy rant on it, but it was just like... One of our goals for 2022 is to spend quality time together as a family. I mean, literally unplug, get away. And I don't care if it means like unplug, go camping and nobody gets to use their cell phones, or go 4 hours away, or not 4 hours away, but a 4-hour flight away, 2,000 miles across the country, and you're just detached from everybody. And you don't have to spend 10 grand or 5 grand to go do that. I'm just saying, like, for us, there's so much noise in life and social media and YouTube and the lawn care business and our companies every single day. One thing that I want to really get better at in life is going from vacation to vacation and figuring work out in between, instead of my first 11, 12 years in life, which was do nothing but work and then figure out how to include family time. And I say it all the time. If you think you're going to budget for savings with what's ever left over, you'll never save money.
Works, yeah.
You have to literally make savings a bill. That's what worked for me.
The Lawntrepreneur Academy is an industry-leading online training website. We have training courses and programs where you can learn how to start a lawn care business, how to do mulch installations, aeration and overseeding, and so much more. For you who don't enjoy writing up legal contracts, we can help you with an assortment of documents, including residential contracts, commercial contracts, snowplow contracts for both residential and commercial, plus snow and ice management logs. These are the documents and resources that Brian Fullerton uses in his lawn care and landscaping business every single day.
I put literally tens of thousands of dollars and many dozens, and if not hundreds of hours behind these resources to make them available to help you guys grow your business.
No matter if you need training, resources, documents, or even one-on-one coaching, the LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com is for you who want to start, grow, and run a successful lawn care business. The link along with the discount code is in the podcast description.
Number 2, if you think you're going to just automatically spend time with family, if they're not showing up on your calendar in the last 30 days, I'm telling you, they're just not a priority. And that, I'm not telling you what your priorities should be. I'm just saying my priorities were my family didn't show up on my calendar much the last couple of years. We were building, we were growing, we were hustling, we're doing the deal, right? But I said, you know what, like I have to downshift a gear personally. I want to spend time with my wife. I want to spend time with my baby. Here's what we're going to do. Every month this year, we're going to take 3 days off or a week off, whatever we do, get a long weekend if that's the minimum, and we're going to spend time together. We're going to spend time on our marriage. We're going to spend time on our relationship. I want to be a present father from a baby, not when she's 5 and she needs me most, right? That whole deal or whatever. Or when she's 15, like that's just something that's really become a priority for me. And so long story short, inspired by Greg Woodstock, the pond guy. You gotta like say his name like that, by the way. Greg Woodstock, the pond guy. It's like a long sentence there. I saw his master calendar that he has on his desk in his office, and he's really public about it. And it's just like it's blocked off for the year. All family time is blocked off first, and he figures out work second. And I heard Darren Hardy, like Olympic athletes, they want to work, they want to hustle, they want to like perfect their craft.
But they have to schedule and rest.
But they literally get paid to rest. They have to rest, or there's going to be no healing and no growth. So anyway, I don't know if you guys can derive anything from this conversation, but for us, I'm already telling you it was worth it. I want to spend money. I'm not trying to do it on the cheap necessarily. And you don't have to go spend $5,000 to go do a family trip. You can go camping for 3 days and just unplug. But for me personally, like I can already feel the difference of our connection in just a one solid week away from everybody. This next week, we got the Hype House. So that's kind of our February, weird kind of like late January, February trip. A month after that, I'm taking my whole family, our immediate family, but our whole family down to like my mom and brothers and sisters and stuff we're going to Orlando. So we'll be there mid-March. That trip's cost me $10,000. It was a whole story. You put our foot in our mouth.
It's his mom's 70th birthday, so we wanted to do something really big. That's not something we typically do.
No. That trip's going to be expensive. But I'm taking my whole family. Taking like everybody's on the dole that week down to Orlando, and then that'll be a really good time. April, May, June. We don't have anything for April and May because I was like, Liz, I'd love to do a trip a month club, but that is really hard in April, May.
We're gonna wing it and see even if it's just a day trip, like
couple day trip.
Yeah.
We're talking like up North Michigan or maybe Grand Rapids.
Yeah. The only thing is having in the car, man. I would rather 100 times fly with the kid than put her in a car seat. She hates to be contained.
Her limit's about an hour.
Yeah.
Right now, about 45 minutes even. So from there, we have a June trip to where we always go up north, Charlevoix, Bay Harbor, that area, Traverse City. That'll be a fun time. What's that?
We have to book that.
We still need to book that. That's true.
Those things book up.
Well, we were booking it, and then we found out like the 2 places we normally stay at are booked. So we got to figure that out. But we still got to figure out July, August, September, October. I'm sure we got some
June,
stuff.
we have Together in the Trades.
Oh yeah, that's what our trip was Together in the Trades in Nashville.
Yeah.
Get your tickets for Nashville for Together in the Trades. It's the Marriage Summit, co-hosted with the Almonds. Fantastic time. That'll be a really good trip. I haven't been to Nashville in 15 plus years.
I've never been to Nashville.
You've never been to Nashville?
Never been to Nashville.
Super cute town, super fun city, tons of fun.
It seems like it. I always see people go and like post about it, but I've never been.
I have don't forget my friend's bachelor party I have to go to in July in Vegas. Just kidding. Not doing that one. That's a whole nother story. But any which way, so we still got to figure out August, September, October. Maybe Louisville will be like our October one because we always go to Equip Exposition. But anyway, long story short, the reason I wanted to talk about it, I don't have a huge like bullet point list about massive thought process here, but for me, it just takes some time to rest and recover. And it's a lot easier to take time off now. But you know what? Take time off in the busy season too. Like we get burned out, and I used to just go and go and go. I mean, 7 days a week for years.
It is interesting to me. Like I've always heard, like put your money where your mouth is, and if your money isn't in your family time, like not necessarily like pocket money, but like your time is money.
Yeah.
Like if you're not spending that time with your family, that you're not putting your money where your mouth is.
Prioritizing
You're like,
them.
people say all the time, "Oh, it's what is it? God, family, business." But it's really reversed. You spend the most time in your business, a little time with your family, and maybe if you make it to church on Sunday, you spend time with God.
Yep, that's fair. And we're trying to reprioritize that to make it to church every time. If we're in town, we would need to be physically present, not on
It's
Zoom
been
church.
Really easy to Zoom into church, and we're trying to break that habit.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so I guess let's just spot it up right here. Last thing is the 1 million downloads podcast. What a crazy benchmark that's been. I mean, 1 million downloads is quite a hefty number. By the way, that's unique downloads, they call it. So that is an individual on an individual device, an individual download with that doesn't count plays. Just for reference, there's a difference between downloads and plays. A download means it's downloaded to your phone. But I don't know about you guys, but there's many podcasts I've listened to from many, many different people. And if you start name dropping one, you got to name drop them all. But there's many podcasts I listen to 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Like they're like my go-to episodes. From there's different ones I have from Andy Frisella to other people from a political podcast with Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and all these different folks. Sweet Baby Gang, and then a bunch of other people in between that I love downloading but playing multiple times, just like music. You know, you got a favorite song. So I don't know how many plays is equal to downloads. They always say it could be 2.2 plays per download or 5 plays per download. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, okay, it's 1 million downloads, but at least 1, 2, 3, 5 million plays, which is really crazy. And there's so many of you guys that listen to the John Wick Thanksgiving special episode like
Good Lord,
4
I'm
times.
never gonna live that down.
Just that last 15 minutes, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were just like, "That is the funniest last 15 minutes of any podcast they've ever listened to."
It was so rough.
But look at, I mean, by the way, everybody, just a little context, I guess, talking about the podcast. Everybody, like 2 years ago, it was get on podcasting or getting on TikTok. And I just said, you know what? I don't know anything about TikTok. I'm going to go and talk to my friends, talk to my followers, talk to the fans, whatever you want to call it, talk to you guys. And I just, I realized like YouTube is fun. I love making content on YouTube. I really do. I love the process of like editing and storytelling and filming. It's a lot though. It's very, very time consuming. And here's the deal. Most people I've just realized on YouTube the last 2 years, and some people are kind of even giving me flack a little bit. They're like, your channel's all about reviews or vlogs or, equipment reviews. And they're like, you don't do a lot of like business mindset videos like you used to do the first 3-4 years. And you're right, because YouTube just does not promote that type of content. And I know some people love that content, but nobody sits around for 15, 18, 20, 35 minutes, 50 minutes about 4 ways to become more profitable, 6 best business practices to hiring employees. Those videos bomb. And so here you guys got to understand where it comes from, like a content creator, or if you guys are doing anything in life too and you want to be most effective, right? Like you got to do what the algorithm promotes. You got to do what it takes to be successful on the platform or on the workout routine, right? Like I love B-Dubs chicken wings, but it's not going to be really conducive for me to eating chicken wings to get a healthy body and a 6-pack. Like it's just not going to work. So on YouTube, like 2 years ago, I was banging my head putting out this long format content that was really like business mindset 8 ways to do this or 4 ways to do this or what. And they were good, entertaining videos. And I would make the videos, add some snares in the background. So it would be like, getting your brain, hooked on it. I would zoom the camera in and out. I would change camera positions, all this mess.
You would put so much time, looking at the back side of it or back end of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are always the videos that you put the most heart, the most time, the most
literally
mental
4
energy
hours
into before you even filmed anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then to go and edit it and everything like that. And then I would hate it because I knew oh wow, he's spending a lot of time on this video. It's just going to tank. It became a joke.
Literally.
Is it actually value driven? Oh, okay. Well, it's not going to do well because people don't care.
Every video and talk to anybody who does YouTube, this is just how YouTube works. When you put 2, 8, 10 hours, and it doesn't mean be sloppy on your content creation, but if you put 2, 8, 10 hours into a YouTube video, the joke was, well, there goes 1,500 views only. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful for the 1,500 views, but a channel of my size should get
frustrating.
Yeah, a channel of my size should get 25,000 views, and it's not about money. Literally, how many times do you ever hear me talk about making money on YouTube? I literally couldn't care less.
No, you get frustrated because you're passionate about actually helping people grow a legit business, not entertainment or look at this crazy thing I did. Yeah, it's your passion has always been believing in the small guy, believing in small business. We don't have $1 million business, guys.
We couple $100,000.
We believe that anybody at any time could start today and get to where we're at.
In 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, season. Really.
Literally.
And that's what you're passionate about promoting.
But the platform doesn't
promote.
But it doesn't. The YouTube just did not and does not promote that type of content. Period. Case closed. So imagine me 2 years ago. I'm pouring it out there. I'm not getting any reception from the platform because YouTube's a very, very smart platform. And I know quite a bit about YouTube by now. And I'm just like, you know what? If that's how it's going to be, then I'm going to move my best content, my best thought process content off platform. I'm going to put it on a podcast. And so Paul Jameson was kicking butt, blazing trail. Shout out to Julio Tomei. Julio's kind of the OG YouTube, a podcaster. He's been doing podcasting for, probably 6 years now, maybe 7 years. I don't know. I think he's got a 1 a week schedule, so he doesn't have 900 episodes. He's probably got a couple hundred episodes though by now. But Julio Tomei was one of the first guys. And then Kelfus kind of had his Untrapped podcast. And then Paul really hit it with the next level of energy, excitement, professionalism. And he came with his broadcasting background and just made it sound good and like a real radio show, like the Rich Dad radio show or the Dave Ramsey show. Mm-hmm. And it just was awesome. Well, I was launching Entrepreneur Academy in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2018, but I think 2019. And I'm like, I want to do a podcast so bad, but I can only do so many things just like you guys. And launchpreneuracademy.com, our training website, there's 500 hours into that thing by now, and probably, I don't know, what would you say, $25,000 to $50,000 of investment into that thing?
Oh, at least.
Seriously.
Yeah, and it was 2018 because we had the first actual Entrepreneur Academy live was in 2019. So we launched it in 2018 in our old crappy dumpy apartment. Remember we sat there and you launched it and nobody bought anything. I'm like, Brian, it's been 5 minutes.
It was still at the old place. Yeah. So was it 2018?
It was 2018.
So I think it took me a year or two to just kind of get a dozen programs out and a couple, because I had so much stuff I wanted to market, sell, make available, not to make a buck. It
all takes so much time to put together and figuring out a new platform again. It was a lot. So 2019 is when we had Entrepreneur Academy live for the first time. We had Paul in to host, which was awesome. And then he stayed over.
Okay, so that's the timeline.
To help us set up the podcast. He literally, we're like, no, Paul, this equipment it's so confusing. You're going to have to come and help set it. He plugged it in and was like, okay, here you go.
No, yeah, the hardware is actually not that hard to do a podcast. He actually did a podcast episode with Andrew Martinez, how to launch a podcast. It was a coaching call, but they recorded it, made it public. This was a couple weeks ago. It was a really good podcast. To get a podcast going, it's not that hard or complicated in 2022. But at the same point, getting everything registered and syncing together.
That was the big.
Yeah, Paul's like, you got to get your RSS feed, and that's got to partner up with the flux capacitor, codec. And I'm like, Paul, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You guys sat right here, where we were sitting.
Right here in the living room. And so I told Paul, I said, I'm going to give you some money. Had a comma in the check. And Paul's like, dude, you don't have to do that. He was already in town, for LAL. And I said, nope, the next day we need to launch this podcast. So Paul comes over and he goes, so let me see the mixer and all this stuff set up. And we didn't have anything set up. It was all in the box. So Paul helps me do this unboxing. We're hanging out and putting it all together. And I'm just looking at all this stuff and I'm just now I'm like intimidated. I'm like, dude, what did I just do? And I was like, dude, there's like $1,500 of broadcasting equipment here. I have no idea what it is, no idea what I'm doing. And I'll be honest with you, I actually never set out to make the podcast great. I don't know if I've ever told even you this, but like I literally was just going to repurpose content from YouTube, strip the audio and just dump it onto a secondary platform, kind of like Gary Vee says, like repurpose content. I never really, I don't know, I listened to a bunch of podcasts, but again, I never saw myself as a podcaster. I don't really still see myself as a podcaster, but it was one of those things where like, just to be honest with you guys, I never thought like I would be ranking in the top 10 or the top 100 or the top 200.
That was like the craziest thing to me is like when you launched it, it went right up to like, was it like freaking number 8?
It was number 8 for about for like a week or so. Probably got like a little bit of an algorithm boost. But there was just
still top 8 in entrepreneurship and
to debut somewhere. It's kind of like rappers when they debut in the charts. Like if you don't debut top 10, top 30, you're kind of like rubbish, and it goes down from there. Well, but my point is too is like I never thought I would just, I didn't know how to commit to a podcast because I never created like long format content other than on YouTube, and it was all video. So I'm used to like interacting with the camera. And now I'm like in my broom closet talking to myself.
In your underwear.
In my underwear.
Most of the time.
Most of the
Brian
time.
goes out here in a podcast fully clothed. He comes in and he's got underwear on. I'm like, what happened out there
I
on
sweat.
the podcast?
I sweat when I podcast.
Yeah, you do.
I try hard. I want to do a good job and get all the words right and sound somewhat intelligent and talk slow enough to where it's fun and people can hear, from all parts of the country, but also like entertaining enough to where it's engaging. And there's a lot that I've learned, just in the last 10, 15 years of growing up in life and business that I want to just pour out to you guys and share with you guys. But I'll just be honest with you. I never started this whole thing to do what Paul was doing or to do what Julia was doing. I literally was like, I'll do 15-minute episodes, maybe once a week. I had no commitment to a schedule.
I don't think Brian Fullerton's ever done a 15-minute episode.
No, I don't do anything fast.
You hit it, though. Once you decided it was for you, you hit it because you took that entire winter and gathered content.
I did. Well, what happened was, and this is funny how it works in life, one guy called me out on my Instagram, and I don't know if you remember this, but somebody said, who's going to listen to a show about lawn care, especially from somebody like you with your Mickey Mouse little tiny business? Like you have anything to say and like you have anything to offer. I was like,
it's a really good way to get somebody to do something.
Yeah, literally. No, I've been living off of that asshole's comment for 2 years now and 300 almost episodes here and 1 million downloads. Like, how many times have people been telling you and me that what we can't do in life?
That's fine. I still think about Joseph Anderson calling me fat.
Yeah, he's a retard.
Video like 4 years ago.
But that's my point. Like, I don't know if that's noble. I don't know if that's right. I always joke with people like, "Oh, I want to get fit and I'm motivated to get fit. Why? So I can be fit." Okay, well, you haven't been to the gym in 5 years. That's not clearly motivating you. And then like 6 months later, you meet a guy and he's like fit as heck and he's got a six pack. And like, dude, what motivated you? Oh, I got a girl. Oh. Now it's called motivation. And the same thing with me. Like I was just starting the podcast. I'm like, yeah, I want a podcast. I want to bring my content long form, hang out with people, maybe share some thought process. And then I was like, yeah, sure, that'll be fun. But then somebody's like, you'll never make it. And I don't know, man. Like God puts
whatever
people,
works, man.
Whatever works. Maybe you guys have way more noble, way more authentic, goals and dedication and reasons that you guys do things. Me personally, I just like proving people wrong. And so anyway, I looked for the comment earlier. I couldn't find it anywhere on my social.
Oh, really?
I saved the screenshot of it because I was like, you're going to eat these words in less than a year when I'm top 100. I think that took about 3 months because we had trended because of all you guys, your downloads, the ratings, the reviews. We have like 994 ratings and reviews. That's insane. That's literally insane. There's like Gary Vee has like 20,000. We have 1,000. And I'm not Gary Vee, but Gary Vee puts out 1 billion times more content in the effort. And I'm like, dude, like I know 19,000 is a big spread, but we're like we're in the same galaxy at least. I'm like, dude, I'm coming. Like we're doing this thing. And it gets me fired up. I don't know. Like it's just, when you start looking at ranks and numbers, I'm like, dude, our audience is engaged. Our audience is active. Like these people care. Like you guys care about the content we're putting out. And I know it's helping make a difference in your guys' life. I mean, I can only imagine the millions of dollars more that the audience has made because of what we've shared and what the guests have shared on our podcast have said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to think about it. Like changing the way we do business, raising rates, saying no to customers, canceling people, tightening up our routes. Like it all kind of sounds like noise after you've been listening to stuff like that for a year or two, because it's just so matter of fact. But when you first listen to the podcast or you first listen to some of this stuff, it's like literally water to a sponge, to a dried out sponge, and it just fills you up and you just soak it all in. And I have so many people still today that are like, I've never listened to a podcast before, but dude, I've just binge listened to the last 30 episodes because I went on a family road trip. I had a guy the other day, he was on a family trip and he was at the pool and he listened to like 8 episodes all day poolside, just listening to me. And his wife's like, what are you doing listening to that with your earbuds in? And why aren't you even in the pool? And he's like, I'm listening to this guy about lawn care. She's like, whatever, loser, and, but super good guy. So anyway, it's just crazy to see the thought process spreading out there. And I don't know, like one thing I was thinking about is like, you look at the 1 million downloads and it's really cool and it's really exciting, but you don't really get to see the full impact on it because how do you get the feedback? How do you correlate?
Right.
And I'm always like wondering, hey, maybe when we get to heaven, we'll have some like gold pearly mansion house, like, because God's like, well done, good and faithful servant. You've served me and you served a bunch of people. Like here's your riches or whatever and treasure in heaven. And I'm like, God, there's like castle, because I didn't know, like,
I don't think we live in houses.
You don't think so?
No, we sit and we sing and praise God all day.
That's probably true. I don't know. I'm not a Bible scholar, but eventually we probably got to go home, right? Because we got to eat or drink or.
Not in heaven.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, maybe we have just like really nice lawn chairs then, so we get to praise God all day.
In the lawn chair.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we be on grass? We're all mowing grass. Maybe like it's all like.
Maybe instead of mowing the grass, you get to enjoy the grass in heaven.
Maybe I'm the director of all heavenly grounds. We'll leave that up to Paul Camara. that guy would be the OG that takes care of Heaven's Gardens, all that mess. But long story short, like, I don't know, it'd just be nice to one day see like the visual representation of like, not in an egotistical way, but just in a holy crap, we're serving so many people and it feels really good way. And just to see like the ripple effect, I guess, because man, there's people that listen in and you guys have learned stuff and you're teaching it to your kids. Or there's young kids listening to stuff and they're pushing back at crap they're learning at high school or college. And like, well, that's not really true. And this is actually about business. And this is about free enterprise. And this is about success. And actually, and I'm like, where'd you learn that? They're like, from podcast episode 131. And I'm like, holy crap, like it's working. Like we're making a difference out there. And you know what? So many people came before me. I've listened to so many way more successful people than where Liz and I are at for sure. And I've taken, borrowed, used, whatever you want to call it, so much content from so many other people, applied it to our life. I'm like, this stuff is working, and I just want to do the best I can to share that message with so many of you guys.
If you need help with your books, listen up. Carla and Joe and the entire team at Cycle CPA is Brian's go-to firm for accounting services. Now, if you're in the market for a CPA that focuses in on our industry, go listen to episode 288 of the podcast or check out the free webinar for Fullerton Unfiltered listeners that takes place Thursday night, January 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You do need to register for the webinar, and it focuses on business cash flow management and accounting best practices for those that are in lawn care and landscaping. The link is in the show description, and if you decide to utilize their bookkeeping or CPA services, please mention Brian to save yourself $200.
So 1 million downloads later, I don't want to say like I took the podcast as a joke, but I didn't treat it serious. But after that person flamed me, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to commit to 3 episodes a week. I think back in the day, Paul was just dropping them whenever. I was like, look, I'm all about schedules because that's how I did it on YouTube. I'm like, I'm going to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show. And we've basically kept that pace. I think we took like a month off, one episode a week from last year, Thanksgiving to Christmas. But we've done 3 episodes a week for 2 years now. We've never missed a beat. We've never missed a download or an upload, I should say, in the morning. And then, by the way, we can't forget about Mr. Producer, talking 40 minutes here.
Oh, man, Mr. Producer.
If it wasn't for Mr. Producer,
we wouldn't have a show.
This thing would have fizzled out at about episode 100. Because I think I was...
This isn't just fluff, you guys, though, either.
No.
Like, it's interesting because having Mr. Producer, he keeps so much of what you guys hear is made pretty.
Seriously.
Mr. Producer.
Seriously.
And he keeps us on schedule. He helps us like manage, okay, well, we have,
He's
sponsors.
a partner. He's a partner.
Absolutely. And, going through and having Emmy and things like that, he's like, okay, dude, I need a show where I can pull this forward. I can do that. Like he kind of like quarterbacked the thing for a little bit, I feel like. And
absolutely,
he doesn't have to, but sometimes, especially like going back to having Emmy where our life got turned upside down and he's like, hey, so it's Sunday night. Like, I gotta have an episode out for tomorrow.
We have cutoff times when we need to get episodes to him. Mm-hmm. There's times where I have not made the cut by 6 p.m. at night or something. Let's say for a couple of days before when he needs a couple of days to turn around and edit. And I'm like, I can get one to you tonight. He's I think an early riser, and he's done shows where he's edited them at 5, 6, 8 in the morning, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, and dropped for 7 or 8 in the morning for you guys.
God bless Mr. Producer.
And that every time you guys hear Paul Jameson tell the story or myself tell the story about me calling Paul out, like, dude, you don't have a producer. It wasn't like this, like, bash him negative or anything like that. It was this like.
It sounds so good. Too good to be real.
It's like a YouTuber saying I got an editor. That's like the final frontier of somebody with a YouTube channel. It's like, I got an editor. Okay.
And wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, I literally have.
Dream of the day. We would get.
I'm trying to hire editors on Upwork and all that mess, but it's a whole other story. But it's like, dude, I've edited every single piece of content you guys have ever seen. I've edited since episode 80-ish, maybe and above, with the podcast Mr. Producer's taken over. Mm-hmm. But everything on YouTube and Launchpreneur Academy, it's been a lot of work. But I say this because I was starting to drag my feet. I was 6 months into the podcast, maybe 4 months into the podcast, because I think Paul came out mid-July. He did a summer tour. And if you guys haven't heard the episode or the whole story before, Paul was a coworker, was Mr. Producer at the radio station. So they had linked up. They'd been working together for, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a year, whatever it was. And Paul's like coming over to my house, does like 13 episodes in like 2 days and did the summer tour thing. And we were his last stop. And he goes, I'm like, how are you turning these episodes around next day, 3 days later, 4 days later? I'm like, it takes me an hour to do the podcast and an hour to edit. He's like, oh, Mr. Producer helps me on the back end. And I'm like, dude, you're really committed to this shtick of like having a producer.
Because he would say things like because he would record them at the radio station.
The radio station.
The radio station place, whatever.
The takeout window.
Yeah. And so he'd be like, stop talking and like say something to Mr. Producer. And we're like, oh, it's just a shtick that you're like, making it seem like a fun, cool show. Like you have somebody else there with you. And he's like, no, really, I do. And we're like, yeah, okay. And he's like, no, I do.
We had other friends, literally. I'm like, hey, do you think Paul has a producer?
The whole conspiracy theory you started.
I wasn't like talking junk. Paul's my boy. But I was literally like, bro, there's no producer there. And so one day, literally, and then the story's funny. I got to tell it every time, like when we go down this rabbit hole, because Paul goes, if you don't believe me, I go, Paul, dude, for real, a producer? So he goes, I'll give you his number when I'm done. So he was doing something. He gave me Mr. Producer's number. I don't think I called him that day. I think the next day Paul was leaving. We got him on a flight or no, he was driving back, to wherever, down to Tennessee. And it's funny, I talked to Mr. Producer on, I think it was Sunday, and we talked for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, like just full, like just debrief on what I'm doing, what he's doing. Made a really good friendship, I think, right off the bat. And so I'm like, hey, I need help. And so literally he's helped me quarterback with ads, with sponsors, with everything. His fingerprints are all over this show. And I literally couldn't say thank you enough. Mr. Producer, thank you. Like sincerely, genuinely, thank you. I have never done as much contribution to something, made such an impact onto something, and been able to focus on something so well until the podcast with a producer, just to be totally honest. Like it's been crazy how much he's been able to help us produce this show. So Mr. Producer, thank you. We tip our hat to you all the time. We talk about you everywhere we go. So thank you to him. And all you guys, if you ever want to reciprocate, send him a gift card. Send him a PayPal, $25. So, some at 20 spots. Send him a Longhorn Steakhouse or something, whatever, but think about like all the stuff that you guys have learned because of the show and all the different guests we've had on. You wouldn't hear it if it wasn't for, Mr. Producer. So very, very thankful for that. But he does have a producer. Paul does. We have a producer. This producer now also does like 4 or 5 other people's shows and some very big wigs and stuff. He's, we always say, don't forget about us when you're famous.
Yeah. Don't leave us.
Don't leave us. But any which way, one other quick thing I'll say is thank you to all the sponsors as well. to the Corey Ballards, the Cujos, the X Marks, the 50 other different brands that have partnered up with the show. If we didn't have the ads, we couldn't afford Mr. Producer. If we didn't have the ads to pay for Mr. Producer, we definitely wouldn't have an ongoing show.
No.
There's no way. This thing takes 10 hours a week of somebody paying attention to it. It's its own little business. It's its own little
we always talk about teams and hiring good people and surrounding yourself with good people with every other aspect of your business. Like this podcast is no different.
Yeah.
On top of the YouTube channel, on top of our traditional business, on top of
managing employees, managing a baby,
Entrepreneur Academy, and then baby. Yeah, there's no way.
It's a lot of effort. So back in the day when somebody was like, hey, do you want to run a TikTok or do you want to run a podcast? I said, I'm going to go with the podcast. And other people doubled down and they want to do TikTok and be TikTok famous. That's cool. For me personally, I said, it wasn't about the income. It was about the impact. I said, I want to talk to my friends. I want to talk to people that are following. I want to talk to the Brian Fullerton 10 years ago. You know what changed in the last 10 years? It wasn't the equipment we bought. It wasn't the work that we did. It was the way that we think. And if you want to change your stars, you want to change your life, you have to get around people that have clarity, that people that are not confused, and people that know how to think. And I challenge everybody right now listening to this, and I challenge myself every day, that you should not be thinking the same thought process today that you were yesterday. It is something that is forever changing. You're forever growing, and you need to always get better. And you need to think better thoughts, bigger thoughts, clearer thoughts. You know what I mean? And the best way for you to do that is to listen to something in an audio format, in my opinion. I think number one's reading a physical book because you actually change your brain grooves. Yeah. But number two is with an audio. And audio podcasts and podcasts are just getting warmed up. And so any which way, I just say all that to say it's really exciting to see the impact that the podcast is making on so many people out there. We're forever grateful, forever thankful. We don't think we're anything special by any means. Frankly, half to probably 2/3 of the podcast is guest interviews. And so if you've ever been on the show, thanks for taking time to be on the show. If you haven't been on the show yet, we'll get you on the show. Give us some time. There's a lot of people out there that we're trying to work through and cycle through. And we're just getting started. So where do you think the future's going here, babe?
I don't think podcasting is going anywhere.
You think it's going to be here to stay?
Yeah.
Cheers to the next 1 million downloads.
Yeah. I just want to say how proud I am of you. I've seen on the back end, all of the, random, oh my God, it's 2:00 in the morning. I have to have a podcast, Mr. Producer kind of craziness. And, it takes commitment. And, when I used to be in YouTube videos with you, people would always comment on, wow, man, I want to find somebody who looks at me the way Liz looks at Brian. And this is why, when you commit to something and to see the impact you're making, you make it really easy to be proud of you. And
well, thanks.
I'm honored to be on the show with you, even though if I get on here, it's goofy.
You are consistently our number one most favorite ranked guest. I think it's number one would be you, and then number two would be a Corey Ballard. You know what I mean? Because Corey's always dropping nugs. But you make the show fun, and frankly, I'm a very predictable person. I like orchestration. I like knowing that things are going to happen the way I want. And when you get on the show, I think I can't contain that. So I'm like, oh my God.
Here we go.
But you know what? It's the same thing when Brittany's on Caleb's show and Dr. Frank is on Paul's show. You never know what you're going to get with a guest. And you definitely never know what you're going to get in real life when you can make eye contact and have banter, and it's always a lot of fun. So thanks for being on the show with us as much as you have been, and looking forward to having you on way more in the future. Amen?
Yeah.
# family owned.
# family owned.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, that's our dissertation on the 1 million downloads that we've had for the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. One thing I'll just say is that we're committed to you guys. Seriously, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere but up. We're working with the best that we can to get the best thought process that we can with you guys. Do me a favor. Don't get lazy. Don't get soft on us. Don't get complacent. Every time you guys can share the podcast on Instagram stories or leave a rating review or support the sponsors, right, with buying a product or service or whatever, that partnership goes a long way to keeping the podcast going, right? It's not
Absolutely.
There's no way to coast, right? We always say there's only one way to coast, and that's downhill. So if you want to keep growing, we got to keep swimming upstream. Takes time, takes effort, takes energy. So seriously, thank you guys for partnering with us.
And keep those rating and reviews coming in because unlike, YouTube, which is what we're really used to, or anywhere else on social media, there's no comment section. So the only way we get feedback is from you guys in those rating and reviews.
We read them all the time. I know Mr. Producer reads them off about once every other week, because he's just got the golden voice for it. But we literally do all the time because we get an email from chartable.com and it shows like the 3, 4, 5, 6 new reviews that we get every other week or two. And we really do read them. And I'm like, okay, cool. Good feedback. And John Jones from, New Jersey and Mike Smith from, Tennessee. And I'm like, dude, we got people listening from.
It's so cool. It's such a nerdy thing, but like we get really excited about it.
Yeah. On the Libsyn is like the service that we use to host. Our podcast has been downloaded like, dude, half the planet, like half the countries of the planet. It's kind of crazy. Other than like the Middle East, but not a lot of grass over there. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we did have like one person in like the UAE downloaded. Or
they have grass there. They're rich.
Yeah, they do. They literally could make grass grow in the desert. Those people have enough money to do that. Or maybe it's like Kuwait or somewhere. Somewhere had grass over there, and I'm like, what? But you know what? You get lucky once. But we get downloads in like Chile and Argentina. Chile. Chile. Brazil. It's Chile. That's how you say it.
No.
You don't. It's not Chile. You think it's Chile?
It's not Chile.
Chile. It's not Chile?
It's Chile.
It's not Chile. Seriously, the locals will call it Chile. Isn't it though? No. Dude, work for me here. I don't ruin this out. Chile.
It's Caniano.
Caniano. You're gonna wake up at me. Dude, we cross at 11 o'clock at night and we literally lose our shit. It gets all loopy.
What time is it?
It's 10:30. It's 10:38. You're approaching the full moon hour, like from 11 to we had it. We had it. Kono Reeves.
We were almost there. I thought we were going to make an entire episode without something like this.
Oh.
Chile.
We visit Deer Valley in Chile.
You think he's in Brazil weird too.
Brazil. It's Brazil. Do you say like the Iraqs or something like?
No.
Some people call it like Iraq.
Because you say Iraq.
Do you say Iraq or Iraq?
I say Iraq.
Why?
Because I grew up in Dearborn and we had a lot of Iraqis.
Yeah, Iraq, Iran. Yeah, pillow or pillow?
I don't run.
Do you say I don't run?
You say pillow weird. You say pillow.
I gotta go sleep on my pillow.
Pillow.
It's a pillow.
You say milk too.
We're gonna stop the podcast.
Hello, would you like to go to Chile and drink some milk?
I'm on pillow. I hate you. And last time we'll have Liz on the show in 2022.
Every time is the last time.
All right. Well, that's what I got. Thanks for taking the steam out of the million.
I didn't. You did.
Million downloads.
Chile.
I was saying it right. I was trying to like be appropriate on my speech. Articulate. All right. Well, dead space is never good for on a podcast or radio show. Caleb chastises Brittany all the time. He's like, say something. She's like, it's your show, dimwit. He's like,
not wrong.
He's like waiting for her to say something smart. She's like, I don't want to be on this. Oh man, Kid Contractor Podcast. Shout out to them. They'll be at 1 million before you know it. So, all right, that's what we got. Shout out to Mr. Producer and Paul Jameson for real. Their friendship extends way past the podcast, and we couldn't do it without them. So, anything else you want to say really quick, or is that pretty much it?
Chile.
All right. Adios.
Drink some milk. This chile is really spicy.
Adios, governor. Adios. All right, well, guys. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast, and we look forward to catching up with you guys here on the next one. Bye, guys.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, No one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.